Hello friends and welcome back to the channel. So yesterday I finished up exploration of the Epoch of Pain quest, blitzed through it in just a few days, and if you follow the channel for a while, you know that I typically don't go through Everest content like this very quickly. My Abyss runs, my Necropolis runs, all of my Karina challenges, they're all kind of like spaced out, and I prefer to take my time with it. But for some reason, I really felt the desire to go back in right away to this quest. Probably the prospect of that sweet rank 4 gem, which we'll get to in just a few minutes here. So I'm probably going to let some of my runs against Ares play at the start of this video, because before we get into the rewards opening itself, I do want to talk through some feedback about the Ares fight, my thoughts on it. And this is all stuff that I already shared with the development team as well. We'll start off with a bunch of good stuff. So when I read through Ares' abilities for the first time, I was pretty concerned because I'm a person who always looks for RPG counters to a fight first, and then a skill ask is a secondary thing for me. And when I read through his abilities, it was pretty clear that the fight was going to be very low on RPG and very high on skill ask. And I think in hindsight, having gone through all 6 paths and fought him, a bunch of times, I think that making it a low RPG ask kind of removed all of the pressure in your path planning, because there is no reason to really bring in like a quote, an Ares counter on every one of your teams. And that made planning for the path fights a lot easier, especially since they added those linked nodes to the paths, which made the planning a bit more restrictive for that. I also liked that his specials started off like the animations were slow to give you some time to kind of adapt to the actions that you need to perform. But on the other side, like by the end of my runs, I actually really disliked the very slow specials at the start of the fight, because I had already gotten used to the faster timing, and the slow timing was like really messing me up. And I ended up giving up a lot of early deaths in the first phase, the second phase, because I was just trying to like go faster than what the animation was. I also really liked the colors on his weapons. So I had like a little spreadsheet thing up on my screen that had each of the specials listed and the actions that I needed to do, and they are color coded as well. And I had that up on my screen so I could reference it, at least until I developed like the hand-eye coordination and the memorization, and can just do it without needing to look up. So but the colors on the weapons really kind of like make the connection in my brain properly. I don't really know how else to describe it, but I enjoyed that. So talking again about these skill asks that I mentioned earlier, obviously the skill ask in this fight is very, very difficult, but I did appreciate how simple it was. And this is something that kind of sets Ares apart from some of the story bosses even. There's a lot less going on with him, but yet he is far more punishing than any of them. So it was really kind of cool for me to kind of see that balance at play, comparing him to some of like the story quest bosses. I also think that there was really a significant lack of like BS mechanics in this fight. There are like typical AI issues, but the vast majority of my deaths against him were definitely on me. And I knew that I made a mistake, doing the wrong action during a special, and that's why I took a special to the face and got clobbered. So now they mentioned on the live stream that they are going to be using him for future Everest content as well, and I'm really curious like what kind of changes that they're going to make to him, and I'm actually looking forward to kind of seeing him again and getting some additional runs at him. So alright, so let's cover a few things that I really didn't like about this fight. And again, this is all feedback they've already shared with the team. Hopefully they can make some improvements and potentially adjust this kind of stuff for future iterations of the Ares fight. So first thing I want to mention is the green flash that you see whenever you get an input correct on one of his special attacks. And I really think like this green flash is a bit misleading to the player. Because it doesn't necessarily mean that you did everything correctly. It only means that you performed the correct action, meaning, to actually counter that special, you need to perform the right action and you need to have the timing correct. But the green flash only indicates the former. So when I see the green flash, my brain immediately says, all right, you got it, move on to the next move in the sequence, but then I would get hit and die anyways, because green, didn't actually mean you got it right. And this was most common, I think, for me during the minigun input, where you have to swipe up during the minigun bullets on his special 2. And it took me a while to adapt to the fact that you have to do the swipe up action like a bunch of times. because like, at the start of the fight, you would swipe up once, but then you would get hit by the bullets at the end of the animation. So not really sure how you would correct this, but yeah, I feel like this could definitely be improved for future versions of the fight. Second thing I have listed here is that I really think his special bias needs tuning up a bit more. There were several runs, including my last path with Onslaught in particular, where I got into the habit of pushing him just above 2 bars of power, but then we moved from his wall all the way back to where I was against my own wall without him throwing his special attack. And whenever he dashes forward, he gains a little bit of power, kind of like Nova does, right? So by then we would be at my wall, and it would take like 1 or 2 dashes, and he would get his special 3. And the fight would be over. So seeing that kind of passive behavior from the most difficult boss in the game did not feel good at all. I really think that the chance for him to throw his special attack should be very, very high once he actually has 2 bars of power. I really don't think you should be asking a player to bait a special the entire way across the arena. That's not a good user experience. Last thing I want to talk about is the active aggression icons. This is kind of like a minor gripe, but they're very difficult to read, especially like on a small device. I play on an iPhone, and especially when you're trying to focus on everything else going on in the fight. They have like those icons and the letters. The MLH letters are very, very small, and I don't understand why they didn't just use like the full letter icons, like the ones that they use on a strike counter node or Dawn of Protection, like there is on that Jessica Jones path fight. And like my point here is like the fight is hard enough. Do I really need to get close to my screen and like squint to see which action I need to do? And like I should be able to quickly glance at the HUD on Ares' side of the screen and know exactly what actions I need to perform. But like I found myself needing to look, more than once at the icons to try and figure out, is it an M, is it an H? I need to move a little closer to my screen. And I get it. I'm over 40. My eyes are not, what they used to be. But I really feel like that could have been made a bit more user friendly. Overall, I really enjoyed the fight. I was definitely frustrated at times, but like I kept wanting to go back in and try again. And this is kind of what I talked about earlier. Every time I got through a path, I was like, man, I really want another crack at this guy. And this was a totally different experience for me compared to a boss like the Abyss Collector, who is a boss that I really dislike, and I really don't ever want to go back in and fight again. I think that's all I wanted to say about Ares. Maybe I'll think of some more stuff to put in the boss guide, but for now, that's going to be it. The Onslaught fight you just saw was actually my final run against Ares for 100% exploration. And now let's go ahead and cover all of my rewards openings. So we'll start off with all 6 of the class-based 7 stars. And I'm not opening these live as I record this. I already know what I'm getting. I will say that pretty much all of them I think had very little use for me. And with every one that I kind of went through, I got like more and more worried that I was going to like really miss hard on the 5 champ Nexus and then my rank 4 gem. So more SIGs on Vox. Vox is great. I love using Vox. I don't really need SIGs on Vox, and I seem to be pulling him like once a week these days. So I would consider that probably a bit of a miss. This one is probably the worst of the bunch, as I recall. 7-star skill, and it's Hawkeye. Hawkeye, SIG 20, SIG 1 is great, but like additional SIGs on him do next to nothing, and his signature ability is actually like really, really bad. The scaling on it needs to be completely overhauled, in my opinion. Forget which one is next here. Next one is Tech. Tech, I had a lot of good options like for champs that I wanted out of this crystal. Like I've been looking for a dupe on Warlock, been looking for a dupe on Red Skull, but again, I seem to be pulling the same champions out of every class that I have been lately. And this one is a 7-star Guardian. I just pulled him like last week, and I think I pulled him like 3 or 4 weeks ago. So his SIG, again, natural SIG 120, just keeps climbing up. And Guardian is a fine champ, but I really don't care to use him that much, and I probably won't rank him up for a while here. All right, number 4 is going to be Science. Again, a lot of really good options in this crystal for a Science champ. A dupe on Spot would be cool. Additional SIGs on Silk would be great. Instead, it's SIGs on Mr. Negative. Again, a champ who I think is good. I don't really like to use Mr. Negative. I understand that a lot of people are big fans of him. Probably won't rank him up anytime soon, so the SIGs aren't really doing much for me there. All right, moving on to the Mutant Crystal. I was really hoping to see Onslaught out here. If you watched my rank 4 video, you know that I was kind of worried about getting a rank 4 Mutant Gem because I would want to rank up Onslaught, but I didn't really want to rank him up unduped, so I was really hoping for a dupe on him. Instead, again, more SIGs on a champion that I really don't use. And again, the SIGs are good for him, and he is generically a good champ, but really not somebody that I go to and use like on a day-to-day basis. So again, not a real useful pull for me. And then last but not least, from my final path is the Mystic Crystal, and ironically, this is by far the best pull out of the 6, but also like equally, not as useful, and you'll understand what I mean here in just a second. So it actually is a 7-star Kushala who I already have at max SIG. So the best champ out of the 6, I think. But again, it's not giving me any SIGs. It's just giving me a few extra Titan shards, which is, not the worst thing. All right, let's move on to the 7-star Awakening Gem. I really had no preference for class here because I don't really want to use a gem on like a champion that I could pull from the basic pool. So I would probably save whatever class it is for like a featured champ or like an exclusive 7-star somewhere down the line. So we end up pulling Cosmic. The only good option I have here on my roster is Beta Ray Bill, but again, I don't really want to invest the SIGs in him, so this is probably just going to sit and collect dust for a while. All right, so now we have some crystals from the Valentine's Day event. I just went ahead and lumped these in here, a couple of Nexus crystals, getting a brand new Eye Hulk from the first one, which I really, really like, and we awakened Dragon Man. Dragon Man is a champ that I really do like, and I would like to use him more. I really do value his signature ability, so really happy with both of those. And then we got another 7-star Awakening Gem, again from the Valentine's Day offers. This one is probably less good than the first one. We end up getting a 7-star Tech Gem. I already have one of these that I pulled from, I think, the Necropolis Arena challenges, so you can see that's my second Tech Gem. Got nobody to use those on, but it is what it is. All right, moving on to the 7-star Epoch Nexus Hero Crystal. This is a choice of 5 champions from the basic pool, and this is not a particularly good lot of 5. Like, we start off with a max SIG Ironheart, which I was very tempted to do, but I think I wanted the Awakening ability on Bishop just to have it. I think that was more valuable for me, and you can see me going back and forth. Like, do I want to pick the max SIG or do I want to take the dupe? End up taking the dupe on Bishop because I have like so many Titan shards right now. I figured like a guaranteed dupe here was a bit more important for me right now than just a few extra shards. So now we come to the big daddy of them all, the 7-star rank 4 gem. I was hoping for pretty much anything but mutant. I was calling out science out loud as I was spinning this. Science and tech, and mystic and cosmic. Skill, less interested. Mutant, not interested at all. So we'll go ahead and tap it here. And our 7-star rank 4 gem is a tech champ. So if you watched my rank 4 prep video, you would know that. But if I pulled a tech gem, there is absolutely no way that I could pass up on a rank 4 Ironheart. So yeah, I was really, really happy to get a tech gem. I was like cheering at my desk. But before I ranked up Ironheart, there was one thing I promised in my rank 4 video that I would do first. Void is going to rank 4 this month one way or the other. So yeah, we ended up getting enough tier 7B to fill out what I needed for my 3rd fully formed catalyst. I think I only needed 3/4 of a catalyst in order to get it. We're just going through the filters here, leaving us with one and only one champion who was the only champion who could ever be my first rank 4 7-star, and that is, of course, my favorite champion in the game, 7-star Void. Really, really can't wait to start using him in a bunch of quests and Alliance War in the coming seasons. And now that that is over with, we can gaze upon his gigantic health pool and move on to the rank 4 tech gem, which we are going to be using on 7-star Ironheart here. I didn't even consider using it on like any of these other champs. It was always going to be Ironheart. Easy choice, and I'm really, really pleased with that. A little disappointed to learn that I was not the first in the world at either of these rank ups, but shout out to the other people who ranked up Void and Ironheart as their first and maybe second rank 4 champs. Folks, that's going to do it for the Epoch of Pain rewards video. Hope you enjoyed it. Please do me a favor and hit that like button for me, and also subscribe if you haven't already so that you don't miss out on future content. I'm going to leave you here today with my first ever fight using rank 4 Ironheart, the champion that I ranked up from Epoch of Pain, of course, appropriately against the MCOC punching bag Winter Soldier. I do want to note here, by the way, that there is a huge bug fix coming to Ironheart, hopefully in the March patch, that's going to fix her vulnerability passive, and it's going to substantially increase her damage output. So if you liked Ironheart already and you thought she had decent damage, hold on, because it's about to get way better. Folks, again, that's going to do it. Hope you enjoyed it. As always, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you again next time.